Today, we're going to talk about a really critical strategy for protecting yourself in psychologically tough relationships. And that strategy is documentation. Now, this isn't just about keeping a diary. It's about building a fortress of facts, brick by brick, to protect your own sense of reality. So let's dive into exactly how you can build that fortress for yourself. Here's our roadmap. We're going to break this down into 5 key parts. First, we'll get a handle on the psychological environment, what we're calling the fog of manipulation. Then we'll talk about the solution, the factual anchor. After that, we'll get into the nitty-gritty methods and evidence. Then we'll explore the benefits, and we'll wrap up with the absolutely most important piece of the puzzle, strategy and safety first. All right, so first things first. We need to understand the kind of environment that makes documentation not just helpful, but absolutely necessary. It's often described as living inside a constant, thick fog, where everything you thought was clear suddenly becomes blurry and uncertain. And this quote right here, your own memories begin to be corroded by systematic gaslighting, it just hits so hard because it's an experience so many people report. This exact feeling, that your own mind, the one thing you thought you could always trust, is suddenly unreliable. Real, objective events get twisted and distorted over time. Now, there's a clinical term for this. It's called gaslighting. It's a deliberate, systematic process that's designed to make you doubt what you know you saw, what you heard, and what you felt. And it's precisely because of this corrosive effect that creating an external, objective record becomes so fundamentally important for your own self-preservation. And just to provide a little academic context here, the behaviors we're talking about are often associated with what's known as Narcissistic Personality Disorder, or NPD. Now, the goal isn't to diagnose anyone, of course, but it's about recognizing a specific pattern of behavior that makes the strategies we're about to discuss so incredibly relevant and necessary. So how in the world do you fight back against this kind of fog? Well, now we move from the problem to the solution. If gaslighting creates a sea of confusion, then meticulous documentation, what we're calling the factual anchor, is how you find solid ground again. This is really the core idea. It's all about grounding yourself in indisputable facts, especially when your emotions and memories are being intentionally thrown into chaos. Remember, this record isn't for them, it's for you. It becomes your personal reference point for reality.
And this slide illustrates the difference perfectly. Just look at this, it's so important. The emotional record says, he was furious with me for no reason. See, that's an interpretation. It's subjective. Someone can argue with that, right? They can call you oversensitive. But the factual record? At 7:10 p.m., when I asked about the electricity bill, he responded in a raised voice, "You're always making up problems," and left the room slamming the door. Wow. That states the time, the trigger, the exact words, the specific actions. It's concrete, it's objective, and it is way, way more powerful.
Okay, so you get it. You're on board. But how do you actually do this? What are the nuts and bolts? Well, this next section is your practical guide, covering the essential methods and the kinds of proof you want to be collecting. You've got a few options for how to keep these records, but listen, they all share one giant, non-negotiable rule: security. It has to be secure. Whether it's a physical diary you hide somewhere safe, an encrypted app on your phone, or even emails you send to a secret account only you know about, it has to be completely inaccessible to the other person. And always, I mean always, have a separate backup, like a flash drive that you keep with someone you trust implicitly. And what you collect should go way beyond just writing things down. Think of yourself as an archivist of your own life here. You're going to want to save screenshots of text messages, of social media posts, keep your call logs, take pictures of any damaged property. And if money is being used as a form of control, save every single receipt and bank statement. Each little piece helps you build a bigger, undeniable timeline. So now that we've covered the how, let's really focus on the why. Because the payoff for doing this admittedly difficult work is huge. It gives you benefits that are both deeply personal for you and also incredibly practical for the outside world. The benefits really fall into 2 main categories, and honestly, they're both equally important. First, you get this profound psychological clarity. It reaffirms your own sanity. And second, you get practical protection. This becomes a body of evidence if you ever need to share your story with therapists, lawyers, or anyone else in an official capacity. You know, this might be one of the most empowering outcomes of the whole process. When you're living it day by day, abuse can feel totally random and chaotic. But when you step back and review your records, these hidden patterns just jump right out at you. For example, you might suddenly notice that every single time you share good news about your job, an episode of rage follows. Seeing that pattern isn't just validating, it's predictive, and that gives you back a sense of power. Okay, and this brings us to our final, and without a doubt, most important section. Because while documentation is an incredibly powerful tool, it also comes with risks if it's not handled with extreme care. Your safety has to be, and I mean has to be, your number one priority through all of this. And this is probably the question that's been in the back of your mind this whole time. But is this actually safe to do? And that is a completely valid fear. The act of documenting what's happening can feel like a rebellion, and it's essential that we acknowledge that and move forward with a really clear-eyed safety strategy. You have to be prepared for this. If your records are ever discovered, a very common tactic is for the abuser to just flip the entire script. They'll claim that you're the one who's spying or plotting or making things up. And this is exactly why absolute privacy isn't just a suggestion, it is a hard and fast requirement for this process to be safe and effective. So let's be crystal clear on the rules of the road here. 1. Your records must be stored where they absolutely cannot be found. 2. A backup copy needs to exist somewhere else entirely, away from your home. And 3. Never, ever, ever use these documents to confront the person directly unless you are in a secure setting, guided by a legal or therapeutic professional. This is your tool for protection, not a weapon for confrontation. And I really want you to think about it from this perspective. This isn't just some administrative chore you have to do. Documentation is a silent act of resistance. It is a powerful way of standing your ground when the very ground beneath your feet is being made to feel unstable. And in the end, it really all comes down to this. While one person may be actively trying to rewrite your shared history to fit their story, this process ensures that you are meticulously, quietly, and bravely preserving your own truth. You are becoming the most reliable historian of your own life, and you are reclaiming control, one factual entry at a time. So, I'll leave you with this final thought to really chew on. In a situation that's designed from the ground up to make you doubt your own mind, how can the simple, undeniable power of your own documented truth become your greatest and most powerful defense?